Monthly Amazon employees earn an average of more than $20 an hour.
You are listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
Good evening, friends! New Clown World time, new Clown World day. Well, not new Clown World time, same Clown World time, new Clown World day. This is This Week in Clown World. We're coming to you on a Sunday because we're going to check numbers and because we had a guest lined up. It looks like he might be down in the chat, so we'll see if
find out there.
Yeah, we'll find out there. And this was the day that would be best for him to come on with us. We don't have a picture for him, so maybe you can figure something out.
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
Fuck it, we're doing it live. Yeah, we're gonna do the Bill O'Reilly style. We're doing it live. Fuck it. Yeah, so we're gonna run with that. And tonight, of course, our guest is going to be the co-host of Harrison Smith's Side Hustle. Moonbase Live, we've got Lebanon John, who's going to be joining us. He was kind enough to commandeer one of the lunar capsules and make his way back from the moon to join us tonight. And we'll be talking with him about all the crazy, crazy shit that's been going on. We have the stupid debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and we've got the eating of people's pets in Ohio, which is also really stupid. And of course, we have the fact that Donald Trump was shot at. Again, still, the second highly public assassination attempt in as many months. Almost 2 months to the day since the last one. So we're going to be going over that. So we'll see if John is with us this evening.
He's muted right now. I'm gonna John, go ahead and say something. And I do not hear him. So
I do not hear him either. So maybe let's see. There's security something or other, or maybe you just have to no, he dropped out. Let's see if he can come back in. Anyways, so let's get into the things in the order of how they are appearing chronologically speaking, which is that the first one was the stupid debates. So there is a lot of speculation about how Kamala Harris performed in the debates. They say that she might have just spent the entire debate time memorizing certain talking points because she did come off as a very surface level, bumper sticker slogan-y.
turn the page.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everything she said was just an empty platitude. She kept saying, "Oh, I've got a plan for this. I've got a plan for that." And it's like, well, okay, what is that plan? And why haven't you worked to enact it while you've had power for the last 4 years? And that was something that she has been pushed on in the past, and she was pushed on at the debate, and still no answers. Deflection, platitudes, but no actual discussion of what this opportunity economy actually looks like.
Well, I got to be honest. I couldn't watch a lot of debate. I cannot stand that woman's voice. I just cannot. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. It's nasally, and I had to listen to it in chunks, and I caught the highlights, but I cannot listen to her voice for any period of time.
Yeah, me neither. It's listening to her is harder than listening to RFK Jr.
It's like, can't she get some fucking voice coaching? Or I suppose it's too late now. They'll just say she's changing her voice up, but it's terrible. There's no way somebody could get to the level she's at with it sounds superficial and stupid, but somebody sounding like her, there's no way they could get to the presidential level. That's the smallest complaint I have about her, though. But it just shows how manufactured she is, that her just listening to her is grating to people. And that's as bad as our system is, it shows that that's a presidential disqualifier.
Right. But at the same time, it's, I don't know. It's really weird. She's fallen ass backwards into power her entire career. And, oh, there's John.
Okay. All right, hold on. We'll get you in here.
He's got a little profile picture there, but it's like 1/8 of the screen.
Yeah, I'm a beginner at this OBS.
That's all right. I've got you a flag of Lebanon up for you. You're good to go.
Thank you.
Yeah. So everybody, this is John. He's a friend of Harrison Smith over at.
He's got it now.
Oh, okay, good. Over at InfoWars. Harrison's been on with us a couple of times.
That's awesome.
John is the co-host of Moonbase with Harrison over there. Harrison's little side hustle. So I said I got in the chat 2 weeks ago, and I was just like, I want Lebanon John on on Roads to Liberty, and my chat was noticed by Senpai, and here we are.
Yes, thank you so much for the invite. I really appreciate it. Yeah, me and Harrison have been buddies, kind of red pilled since 9/11. We were in middle school together in Houston, and we experienced 9/11 together. And I had older cousins from Lebanon who would kind of like teach me conspiracy stuff, and that kind of started our path. You know, Loose Change documentary, and then we found Alex Jones, and it's all, and then kind of just serendipitously end up like working for Infowars by responding to a Craigslist ad for just like a video guy, and it just all worked out.
Yeah.
If I was going to guess on what country had base conspiracy theorists, I mean, Lebanon's probably not towards the top of my list. That's interesting to hear.
Oh yeah, Lebanon is full of conspiracy theories because actually like a lot of these secret machinations behind the curtains that Americans aren't directly told about are directly openly spoken of over there. So over there, there's literally like Jesuit Vatican militias. There's like Sunni militias. There's like Zionist Christian militias. And it's just overt, and you just see how like what the superpowers of the earth are, and where their alliances are, especially in battle when it comes to a war. A lot of the rhetoric falls away, and you see who's really on the same team. One of the most interesting things about that is that it's the same in America, where you have the liberals actually on the same team as the hardline Islamists, even though that makes no sense. It's the same way over there, actually.
Well, I saw a video of an Islamist talking about how the reason they're for leftists is because they're so easy to manipulate. Did you see that video floating around?
I did, but the question is, why are the leftists cool with the hardline Muslims? That's the part that I can't wrap my mind around.
Well, this is actually a kind of a, I don't know if it would be a theory or a suspicion or whatever, but it's the same reason why you have the river to the sea Palestinian protesters are the same ones that will, in literally the same sentence, decry right-wing anti-Semitism here in this country, even though that makes absolutely no sense to people who are thinking logically. And it's because they view everything in their life through the oppressed Marxist lens. And in America, you know, even though Jews control like the banking and the media, they're still a minority.
Easy.
Yeah, we'll get banned on Facebook. Who knew? Well, I mean, but it is true. You look at the CEOs of like every media corporation, or not the CEOs, but like the board of directors. CEO is usually like a front man, but you have like the board of directors of basically every single bank and every single media conglomerate and every single hedge fund. It's like Jew all the way down. But, you know, even then, they are still a minority in this country, and therefore they are an oppressed group. And then you go over to Israel, and you have this wealthy, affluent, technologically advanced country that is right next door to a literal ghetto where people are living in poverty, and now suddenly the things are flipped and they're the oppressors. So that's why the left is on the side of the hardline, you know, quote unquote conservative or fundamentalist Islamists, is because they are a minority in this country, and no matter how many gays they want to throw off of the building, they're still in the oppressed class.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And that's fine, and I'm kind of okay with that, because a lot of these Muslims they're bringing in are essentially going to be like somewhat of like a third faction that is actually going to serve as like a balancing force, because they can't push the pedophile trans stuff on the Muslims, and then when the Muslims stand up, you can't call them Nazis, right? They're Muslims, so it's like, you know, it can kind of be useful. It's a useful tool against them. Like the strategies the left uses, they're not that well thought out. I think Marxism is just total brain rot. And I think Marxism is actually really the root of all of this. I think you're exactly right. And it sucks, man, because I'm a nationalist, and I'm a Palestinian nationalist, Lebanese nationalist, Syrian nationalist, Iraqi nationalist, American nationalist. I'm a nationalist for every nation. And now there's Marxists infiltrating the Palestinian liberation movement, and they're trying to make it sound like a left-wing thing. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, no, this is a nationalist thing. I don't really see how it's left wing, but I know what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. Marxism is, by definition, an internationalist movement. It's a globalist movement. It's something
Exactly.
that you can start out with it having roots, solid roots in a country like it did in the USSR, but eventually it's going to, like a plague of locusts, eat every resource in that country or so demoralize the domestic population that they just will not work and produce the necessary goods and services that a country needs to prop itself up. So the only recourse then is expansionism. It moves on to the next country, which is exactly what the USSR did right up until it collapsed. And now we're seeing the exact same behavior in NATO and the EU because it's the exact same playbook. I've told I have a Russian friend who lives in Wisconsin, and we've had a few live streams. We haven't done it in a long time, and I think we should probably revisit this. I told him that when the USSR collapsed, the Soviets didn't go away, they just moved to Brussels, and he thought that was pretty good assessment.
Yeah, it's hilarious, and then people would counter and say, no, the Nazis actually, it's actually the Nazis because of all the Nazi connections to all those guys. Well, I think that we got to ask ourselves, what's the connection between the people behind all of it, right? And I think it's pretty obvious that the thing that holds everyone together is their agenda, and it's a monolithic agenda.
Hmm.
They got all kinds of different stripes and colors and factions, but the point is that it's prison planet, and it's digital money, vaccine passport, no freedom of movement, et cetera, et cetera. And so China is like a forefront in that world. And so basically, what Alex Jones has said, which I kind of agree with him, is that there's different competing models of what type of prison planet it's going to be. And that's kind of how I've managed to understand the independence of China, but the fact that China is also seemingly totally a prison planet advocate.
Well, and Simon has kind of convinced me that China has taken, you have Alex Jones and his whole Bilderbergs and all the old money in Europe saying they're behind everything. But Simon's kind of convinced me that China's pushed those guys aside and they're enemy number one anymore.
They are they are enemy number one in my book too. But John's absolutely right. There is a sort of a factionalization of various deep state actors within and amongst the various competing countries in the world, where they put this air of competition between the various nation states, but behind the scenes they're working together, and they're all going in the same direction. It's just the argument amongst them is which road should we take to get there.
That's what it looks like to me. Exactly. So if you live in China right now, you might say, well, I like the Chinese model. It's not too invasive. As long as you keep your head down, you can get along and everything will be all right. And then you compare that to the European model that they're coming out with, where they're going to measure your carbon footprint. And if you exceed your, allocated carbon quota, you're just going to be cut off. That sounds worse than the Chinese one. So I don't know.
It's different degrees of tyranny, and it really comes down to what flavor of shit sundae do you want to hold your nose and take a bite of.
Well, I don't know. He brings up a good point about keeping your head down in China. The Chinese, as long as you don't talk shit about the Chinese government, they'll leave you alone. But if you look at Europe, you can't talk shit about the government. You can't talk shit about immigrants. You can't talk shit about transsexuals.
Right. If you misgender someone, that's, I don't know, like a felony, I guess, something
Yeah,
like
the European system is getting way worse than the Chinese. Just don't call Z Winnie the Pooh in China, and it seems like you're fine to live your life.
That's what it seems like. People are getting rich in China, right? There's no doubt about it. And I want America to come back, and I do think Donald Trump can bring everything back really quickly. I am optimistic. I'm sure that they're going to try to throw a monkey wrench. Basically, the timeline that I think we're all going to experience is a roller coaster, but ultimately it'll end with Trump winning. It'll seem like tragic both ways, like, oh, he lost, and then he's going to come back. But the numbers have been updated. Those numbers were wrong, and it's going to be a shit show, no doubt. But I think in the end, Trump's going to win. And at that point, what that represents is basically the American people, giving the finger to the deep state, the true deep state. And so what that would mean is that they're going to sabotage America. They would just put America on the shit list the same way they put Russia, North Korea, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, and anybody else who is in complete opposition. And I'm not a leftist at all, but there's no doubt that they have those countries under stranglehold sanctions, right? There's really no doubt about that. So they can turn off the access to the fake money anywhere. America has been the captain of the fake money. But if America itself tries to turn on the system and America itself gets cut off by that very system, that's what I'm worried about, though. It's going to be a very hard time to truly get sovereignty back in this country, you know?
Yeah, and I think that is one aspect of why this push towards the digital currency and the collapsing of the dollar as the world's reserve currency seems to be such an imperative project of theirs, is because as long as the United States is the world reserve currency, then shutting the spigot off to America is going to be, I'm not going to say impossible, but it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to pull off without people going, hey, wait a minute, something's fucky here.
Yeah, America is the chief golem and has been the chief golem for this global agenda. So what happens when this, the ultimate golem, America, turns on the golem creators? What if, God forbid, what if there's a Hitler 2.0 in America that's worse than Hitler ever was? You know what I mean? People have been predicting this. Even Jewish people have said that once they pass laws like outlawing criticizing Jews, within a couple of years, 10, 20 years, there start to be pogroms and expulsions of Jews. That's a Jewish guy saying that.
Right, because throughout history, it's not just, the Holocaust or what's going on in Europe right now, but throughout history, humans in general and Americans in particular really get their asses chapped when you tell them what they can and cannot talk about.
Absolutely, man. They are digging their own grave here, and that's what scares me, though, is that the data shows that support for Israel and America is divided, stratified based on age, and that basically underneath middle age they just don't support it, and so that's frightening. And then at the same time, in Iran, they're facing the same situation in Iran, where support for essentially being in a war footing is also stratified by age, and the younger half of society doesn't really want any war. So then we got the old timers who run the country in both hemispheres here. It's in their interest, their personal interest, to have war, because otherwise they're going to get old and die, and all their vision of this massive conflict is never going to happen.
Right. God forbid that these dinosaurs spend all this time maneuvering to some type of world spanning ideological war and peace were to break out.
We got a peace breakout. Send in the UN. Peace is breaking out. That's hilarious.
Exactly.
I just picture an Iranian version of John Bolton on their side, just phoning up John once a week, trying to figure out what they need to do.
Bomb. Iran.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine even an Iranian's mustache topping John Bolton's.
Right.
That is a tall order even for an Iranian, man.
Yeah. I'll never.
So you mentioned.
Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned a monkey wrench in the Trump train. Well, we had a pretty big monkey wrench today. If we want to steer into that.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a bullet.
Oh, Donald Trump is proving that right here.
Yes, he has.
The man who can't die. But no, I shouldn't say that. But for real, it's quite the ridiculous story. I'm a little concerned because I could have sworn in the Book of Revelations it said something like the beast will look like he died, but then he won't. He'll be injured grievously, but then he'll come back. And there was all these people who said Donald Trump is the Antichrist. I never gave that any credence. But now I'm getting creeped out.
Well, you could look at it that way, or you could, if you're going to kind of break into the religious aspect of it, you can say that he's either got aspects of the Antichrist and the Book of Revelation coming true, or you can look at it as that he has the shield of protection of God around him, and that there is some type of greater.
He's got that mandate of heaven going for him.
Exactly. Well, what it says, it does say I believe in the book of Psalms, that when evil rushes in like a flood, that God will raise up a banner, a standard against it. So to me, that's what Donald Trump represents. And the biggest reason why I'm a believer of that version is because I actually see half of America just like believing lies, like not even believing their own eyes because of Trump derangement syndrome, and Trump still reaching out to them with the hand of friendship to like raise their life to a higher level. So the narrative, the narrative of him being a bad guy secretly deep down, that doesn't match with what I'm seeing in reality. What I'm seeing in reality is the opponents of Trump seem totally delusional and irrational. Like they're cheering for Kamala's debate performance. I mean, I like you said, I can't even listen to her. It's like what world are they in? Like she sucks at talking, like just in general. Like she's just not a good talker. Trump is one of the best talkers, one of the best debaters off the cuff, like ever. And yeah, to think that Kamala could come anywhere near his level of debate, it's just crazy, man. And that's just an example of Trump derangement syndrome. That's why I can't think that Trump is the bad guy, because what we see in real life is Trump reaching out. He's not even aggressive or hostile to his opponents. He's literally like benevolent to his opponents, and then they are just frothing at the mouth in irrational rage. His opponents are just
Well,
usually.
and as a Christian, Trump is not godly by any means, but an evil man doing godly work, the work that he does is still godly. But
Absolutely.
a godly man doing evil work, it's evil.
There you
So,
go.
he
Great
could
point.
he could still, even though I think he's a scumbag in a lot of aspects, as long as he's doing godly work and it's being used for the grace of God, it's still godly.
Yeah, I think that either we as a country or him personally or both, we have invoked God into the situation. And so I believe
Mhm.
that God has, put his hand on the situation. Now, Donald Trump is, of course, an imperfect vessel, as we all are.
Mhm.
But I think that God is going to really do a number on Trump. I think Trump's story, God is going to bring him to his knees. And his whole, okay, it says in the Bible, don't talk about plans in the future. Like if you might die tomorrow. So always say God willing when you make plans in the future. And so here, Donald Trump is very overly confident and braggadocious when he's like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. That's like, you shouldn't be talking like that. He should be saying, God willing, we'll be able to do that, or through the grace of God, we'll be able to do that, or as long as the Lord say the same, we'll be able to do that. So he's got all these religious leaders. 99% of them are totally phonies, and he
Mhm.
has this group of religious guys praying for him. Even the Orthodox guy, and I'm Orthodox Christian, even the Orthodox bishop he had was the most phony Orthodox bishop like ever, and no one takes that Orthodox bishop seriously. And so when they throw a wrench in the plan, and Donald Trump sees that America is really struggling, and unfortunately, I think this may happen. Things are going to get so rough that I bet he's going to call on those religious leaders for prayers, and it's not going to work, and he's going to hit like rock bottom, because that's what it takes for people to straighten out their priorities sometimes.
So I've seen and heard a lot of people claim that after the first assassination 2 months ago, that Trump is kind of a changed man, and you're speculating that his Saul on the road to Damascus moment hasn't actually happened yet.
Right. I mean, this is the starting point, but Donald Trump really cares about the American economy more than anything else, and he's promised like infinite promises in that regard. Now, again, like it's almost like he's jinxing it, right? Because you have to give glory to God in that manner. Otherwise, you're trying to glorify yourself, and it's not going to be blessed. And so these are kind of like fundamental, like, spiritual, like, the rule of thumb is if you're doing it to glorify God, it could be blessed. But if you're just doing it to glorify yourself, is that really gonna, that's not blessed. So I just think that America has to find its soul again. And it's not with these phony fake versions of all these different religions. The phony religions, they're gonna hit rock bottom. People are gonna go to them for help. And they're going to find out that there's no God there. That the Holy Spirit
Your
is not
Joel
there.
Osteens and stuff is what you're
Exactly.
talking about. Yeah.
Right. So we were talking about the debate, and then we kind of switched over to the assassination attempt today, and kind of to tie those two things together, something came out that this morning that has completely been buried because of this second assassination attempt.
Oh, really?
And it is and it's kind of ties everything together here. And I'm not going to say that these two events are connected, but I am going to say that it is unfortunate that this morning's news was buried by the assassination attempt, and that is a supposed affidavit by an ABC whistleblower about clear-cut bias in the presidential debate prep. And I have it pulled up right here. It's not very long, so I will read it to you guys if you will humor me. So some parts are redacted. So when I say blank, that just means the redacted parts here. So it says county blank date September 9th, 2024. And that's important. This person drafted this affidavit a day before the debates so that it could not be construed that they were doing it after the debates in order to maybe like run cover for Trump. Okay, so this is an ABC, allegedly an ABC employee who drafted this affidavit one day before the debate. I, blank, being duly sworn, do hereby make the following statement under penalty of perjury. My name is blank. I reside at blank, Manhattan, New York. I have worked for ABC News for over 10 years in various technical and administrative positions. Since the acquisition of ABC News in 1996, I have observed significant transformations in the nature of news reporting at the organization. These changes suggest a shift from unbiased reporting to a model influenced by external factors. For the record, I do not endorse Donald Trump in his capacity as candidate for President of the United States. The intent of this affidavit is to address concerns regarding perceived biases within news reporting within my employer's debate that will be hosted on September the 10th, 2024. The Harris campaign received particular accommodations, including but not limited to the providing of a podium significantly smaller than that used by Donald Trump and assurances regarding split-screen television views that would favorably impact Kamala Harris's appearance relative to Donald Trump. It was agreed that Donald Trump would be subjected to fact-checking during the debate, while Kamala Harris would not face comparable scrutiny. This was widely known throughout the company that Donald Trump would be fact-checked. In fact, various people were assigned to fact-check observations it was perceived candidate Trump would make during the debate. In fact, Harris' campaign required assurances that Donald Trump would be fact-checked. This was done via multiple communications with the Harris campaign, whereas the Trump campaign was not included in the negotiations. To my understanding, any rules negotiations and conversations pertaining to the debate should have had both the Trump and Harris campaigns involved. The Harris campaign had numerous more calls regarding the debate rules without the Trump campaign aware of or on the call. The Harris campaign was provided with sample questions that, while not the exact questions, covered similar topics that would appear during the debate. Furthermore, the Harris campaign imposed restrictions on the scope of questioning, including no questions regarding the perceived health of President Joe Biden, no inquiries related to her tenure as Attorney General in San Francisco, and then there's a redacted portion underneath of there, and then no questions concerning her brother-in-law, Tony West, who faces allegations of embezzling billions of dollars in taxpayer funds and who may be involved in her administration if elected.
What?
Internal organizational climate. I have observed a pronounced bias against Donald Trump within ABC News. Employees expressing favorable views towards him experience significant concerns about potential retribution. And then 2 lines are redacted under that. Purpose and documentation of affidavit. This affidavit is executed to document and provide transparency regarding the issues of fairness and impartiality in the debate process and broader concerns about journalistic integrity at ABC News. Affirmation of documentation. This affidavit has been signed and notarized on September the 9th, 2024 to ensure that the allegations set forth are formally documented prior to the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. In addition to notarizing this affidavit, I have sent a certified letter to myself, postmarked September 9th, 2024, which will remain unopened for any future investigations. I have also dispatched a Federal Express package containing this affidavit, sent on September 9th, 2024, and delivered to my residence on September 10th, 2024, which will remain unopened for potential investigative purposes. Furthermore, I have sent a certified letter to Speaker Mike Johnson, dated September 9th, 2024, 2024 to establish a record that the correspondence was sent before the debate commenced. Additionally, for further investigation, I have secretly recorded several conversations that will prove that the Harris campaign insisted upon not only the fact-checking of Donald Trump, but also insisted on what questions were not to be asked under any circumstances, or else the Harris campaign would decline to participate in the debate. I make these statements under the penalty of perjury and without coercion of any kind. And then there's the notary part underneath of it, and that is the affidavit by an alleged ABC News employee.
That is a doozy. That sounds very believable. All of those allegations are seemingly 100% accurate. Just from my, knowledge, that passes the sniff test, and they sound like they know that. That sounds legit, man. I think that this is real. I think this is totally real.
Yeah, it's got like 4 redundant built-in dead man switches, including a letter sent to the Speaker of the House. So if all of that is true, and there is a portion at the bottom of it that is the notary public that did all of these things, if any of that or all of that is true, and Speaker Mike Johnson has nothing to say about any of this, he's got some splaining to do.
That's awesome. I got to get this spread, man. We got to get this to Harrison. He's got to get this to Jones. I don't know if Jones knows about this, but he's got to be on this.
I will send these 5 screenshots. I'm sure he's got it. But I will send the 5 screenshots in a DM to you, and you can hand deliver them to Harrison or whatever. Hey, we got Indy Luke down in the chat says, "Let's go, John."
Oh yeah, dude. What's up, Luke? Good to hear from you, man.
Yeah. Hey, Indy Luke, go invite some more people in here. Let's get the chat popping off, because that drives the algorithm, gets more eyes on us, and it's always fun to hear from people down in the chat. So if you guys are watching right now, say something in the chat. I see we have 12 concurrent viewers, which isn't a lot. Let's see if we can get more. Let's get some more engagement. Say something, guys. Come on.
Now, to steer it back to Trump, that guy's socials got scrubbed pretty quick, but there was a lot of people that archived it. Speaking of leaks.
Yeah. So I watched Jones's coverage of it today, and there's some stuff in there that they obviously got wrong, but I've been seeing a lot of stuff pop up about how this guy was involved with either recruiting or setting up militias in Ukraine. He had all of these things talking about how he was, able to get battalions of Afghan people to go to Haiti or to Ukraine to fight on their behalf. I'm like, Afghanistan has enough problems of their own. They're special.
And I thought it was the rantings of a schizophrenic, but maybe not, is what you told me.
Yeah. John, what have you heard?
Yeah, so based on his look and the social media presence, what I've heard is that he was in a Newsmax interview going on and on about the Ukraine war. So basically what it seems like to me is that this guy thinks that Donald Trump is essentially an existential threat for Ukraine's territorial integrity. He's basically like just a diehard. He really believes Putin and Russia are like trying to like take over Ukraine and that they're bad and all that. And so, whatever you think about that, I mean, I nobody likes war. I don't like war, but
John Bolton likes war.
Oh right, John McCain likes war. Marco Rubio likes war. Hillary Clinton I guess a lot of people here tend to like war, but yeah, no. It's what I'm saying is I'm not trying to insult anyone who is on Ukraine's side or anything, but I think this guy is really drank the Kool-Aid kind of guy on the Ukraine story. So if you just imagine actually believing everything they said, then you would say, oh my God, someone should unalive that guy because he's going to cut the funding. And so that's probably that's what I think happened. I think this guy is like, I'm old. I have nothing to live for. I'm going to be a hero because Ukraine's going to get basically fucked if Donald Trump wins.
Well, we talked about last week, the Ukrainians have figured out how to weaponize autists on the internet. Apparently.
No, they have. They have.
Yeah, you didn't see that story where they got some Russians to go set some stuff on fire in Russia. Apparently they were talking to people over the internet who were going to pay him. So the Ukrainians have figured out the FBI playbook of weaponized autists. So
Damn, that's strong.
I wonder if this guy is,
Oh, Ukrainians radicalized them on the internet. That's really clever, man. I think you just figured out a really good scoop, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what happened.
Well, Harrison had a guest on a little while ago, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think.
BX Becca?
Yes, that one, who was talking about kind of the weird satanic radicalization of chaos for chaos's sake, that lurks on places like 4chan and other places, just trying to find vulnerable young men to get them to do acts of violence, and vulnerable young women to basically participate in torture porn. So this isn't necessarily like the CIA, FBI playbook. There's some sick, twisted puppies out there on the internet that just seem interested in destruction and destabilization for its own sake.
Some people just want to watch the world burn, right?
Yeah, there you go. So, kind of switching back though to like why people are trying to kill Trump right now, and it was like immediately within minutes of Trump getting. Well, he wasn't actually shot at. From what I've been able to gather, the guy was set up in like a little sniper hide type thing under some trees by the chain link fence, and Trump's secret security detail was guarding him while he was going through a golf game. And so, of course, a Secret Service agent or two is going to walk ahead to the next hole or 2 holes ahead of Trump just to, do security things because, fucking, of course, like a golf course, as the old saying goes, is a misappropriated use of a perfectly good rifle range. It's wide open spaces as far as the eye can see. So, of course, a Secret Service agent was kind of like walking a hole ahead, and he noticed this guy's little position there and the rifle barrel poking through the chain link fence. And of course, he drew his service weapon and opened fire. This guy, I think, returned fire a little bit and then bounced out, and then was apprehended by Martin County Sheriff's Office later on down the line. The reason that things like this are happening now is the rhetoric, and it's not Trump's rhetoric; it's the media's rhetoric. In this country, I had like a monologue in my head earlier, and I have to kind of remember the order in which these things came to me earlier. But within minutes of this event transpiring, Lester Holt, who's a media personality, was like, "Oh, Donald Trump's heated rhetoric is leading to more political violence." And it's like, yeah, he's like, it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, shut your dirty whore mouth and crawl back under whatever rock you oozed your way out of.
Man,
the media over the last 9+ years now, the media has convinced through repetition and gaslighting a sizable chunk of the public that Donald Trump is an existential threat to the United States and the safety of the world. Not only do they say that he is potentially going to tyrannize the United States, but that he is a reincarnation of what we are constantly told is the worst tyrant in history, and that would be Adolf Hitler, of course. So when you have a large segment of the population is convinced that the mass murdering tyrant of the 20th century, from which all evil apparently springs these days in the modern myth of the West or whatever, that this guy's the second coming of that. And then you combine that with the American spirit that resistance to tyranny is not only expected but required. And then you top that off with the Second Amendment culture that we have in this country that says that resistance to tyranny involves shooting at the tyrants. Yeah. Somebody who's convinced that this man is Hitler 2.0 is going to shoot his shot. Obviously.
Well, yeah, this guy's Facebook, he loved America. He always had America flags on his stuff. He talked about how he was a patriot.
Right.
This wasn't some crazy Antifa leftist shooting at Trump.
Right. And the thing is that if any of this was true about Trump, that he is the reincarnation of Hitler who's going to tyrannize this country and eventually the world, people shooting at him would be justified. But it's not true, and these fuckwits in the media know it.
Definitely. Him coming out and saying that rhetoric caused this, essentially with nothing to point to in specific, that's basically an admission of guilt, because that's just projection.
Right. Yeah. It's the projection that has been exhibited by the media and the Democratic Party, but I repeat myself, these last few weeks has been just it's been unreal, and it doesn't even take like a critical media literate eye to notice that it's like, you guys are accusing Trump of maybe doing in the future what you motherfuckers are doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. While they're in power, like they're blaming the opposition to their regime for being tyrannical, as they're literally the regime exercising tyranny and fighting to stay in power to exercise more tyranny next time around. They're pointing to the guy they're bullying. Hey, he's a tyrant. He's a tyrant. The truth is, most of Donald Trump's fans want him to be more tyrannical.
Yeah, that I think was probably one of the biggest disappointments to the hardcore Trump fan base, is that he did not just use the executive order pen to get a lot of his agenda done. He wanted to see the process at work the way that the founders of this country intended, and unfortunately, ever since the Civil War, that process has become so polluted, and the responsibilities of the legislative branch have been divested away to the executive branch, that process is, I'm not going to say that it's broken, because that would imply that it's broken, but it is polluted in a way that requires a lot of people who are much smarter than me, and definitely a lot smarter than the 535 dipshits that occupy Congress right now, to kind of like, okay, we got to rewind this a little bit. Let's go back to the Federalist Papers. Let's go back to the Constitution. Let's go back to the Declaration of Independence. Let's go back to all of those letters that the founders wrote to each other about how we're going to structure this thing, and let's just kind of get back to that. The United States does not need more amendments to the Constitution. The United States needs its Constitution.
Exactly. The laws are already on the books. We just got to execute them. And this is something that me and Harrison have discussed a lot, because we talked to a lot of like the younger generation, like generation whatever, Zoomers, and basically most of the Zoomers are like fed up with constitutional republics as an idea, and they think it's just broken as an idea. But obviously, it's really a demoralization campaign, and they think that it can't be fixed. In reality, it could probably be fixed very easily.
My brother in Christ, you have hit upon the very crux of my entire theory about what it is that these people are doing. And Ben can attest to this. I have said this many times on this show. I believe I've discussed it with Harrison too. When I've tried, it's obviously it's a long theory, but it's that before that they can take over this country, they have to break the spirit of what makes this country what it is. They have to demoralize and dissuade the population away from the ideas of a constitutional republic, because they know that if they rolled in with tanks and guns, we would just start this up again and keep an eye out for those problems so that it doesn't happen in the future. They know that if they have an astroturfed populist uprising like Antifa that in one way or another overthrows the government, that we would put it down and start this experiment in self-governance over again. The problem that they have discovered and that they are working towards fixing in their mind is that they need to convince the public that the idea of self-governance, the idea of a constitutional republic with checks and balances between co-equal branches, is broken from the ground up, that inevitable failure and graft and corruption is an essential part of the plan that is baked in to the structure of this system. Therefore, when the collapse comes, people will be like, "Oh well, let's not try this again," or our grandkids are going to go through the same rough times that we're going through right now. That is exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it the way they're doing it. That's why morons are in charge of everything, and that's why we have to push back against it and tell people that no, the system is good. You just let retards get in charge who are being puppeteered by evil people.
Yeah, they're not executing the laws. They're selectively, it's basically like the laws are being enforced in a over the top manner on the native born, like actual, I mean, actual Americans. And then the law is essentially not being enforced on these new Americans. And so that's going to piss people off too, right? There's only so much of that people can take. That's a recipe for people to get really mad. So we'll see, man. Where I come from in Lebanon, we had a civil war. The civil war was triggered by migrants. So the recipe for that could happen in America because it was intentional. The civil war in Lebanon was intentionally triggered, and the migrant hordes were intentionally shoved in to destabilize. So it's very similar. It's the same. It could be the same playbook. So it was really bad and awkward and tense with the migrant hordes, but it wasn't a civil war until somebody or a group of people went and did like a massacre against the migrants. And actually, that's what popped off the Civil War. And it was like decades of civil wars, really bad. So I feel like we're in danger of that. So it's really dangerous, man. Both sides. If you go too extreme in any direction, you're really low hanging fruit to be radicalized, by these shadowy groups to probably do a terrorist attack.
Right. So JFK, one of his famous sayings is that those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. And what we're seeing going on in Europe and in the United States today with the two-tiered justice system, with the harsh application of laws to the native population and looking the other way to the migrant population. I believe it's kind of paraphrasing JFK, but it's those who make organized justice impossible will make vigilante justice inevitable.
Yeah, I
And
love that.
and that's what they're going for right now. And it's exactly like I didn't know that was the thing that kicked off the Lebanese civil war, but I mean it's a playbook that's worked in the past and it can work again, and it seems to be very effective. They're going to shove these incompatible cultures into these small towns, and the people are going to get pissed off, and they're going to tell the cops, and the cops are going to be like, "Oh, our hands are tied," and then the people are going to be like, "Well, you know what? I'm tired of seeing trash and shit in the streets, and my pets are disappearing, and we've got Venezuelans taking over entire apartment buildings and kicking people out on their ass, or levying some type of like tax to live there on top of their rent and everything that's going on. I'm just going to round up some of the boys, and we're going to take shit into our own hands."
Exactly.
Well, if they're here illegally, nobody's looking for them, right?
Honestly, that's exactly my opinion. I grew up in Houston, Texas. All the guys, my age are all armed. There's no question. There's at least, 500,000 uh, guys who are not really scared of anything, who are armed just within 15 minutes of my location right now. So yeah, like imagine you tell young unemployed guys with guns who are hanging out with their friends, yeah, you can like shoot these guys, nobody cares. Like that's crazy.
But you can guarantee that as soon as that happened, the law would come down on those guys with the force of 1,000 suns.
Yeah, that's why Houston is kind of awesome, man. It's too big and chaotic. The police are stretched too thin. There really isn't some kind of high tech security thing. So, like in Houston, there's pretty much just like regular violent crime that goes unpunished. It's a little bit of a wild, wild west, and I gotta say, it's better this way. It's actually better this way because places where there's too much like command and control from the centralized like group, obviously the government in this case, it's not good, man. Vigilante justice is impossible in let's say New England. They got control of the the way things, you can't even drive around. Like if they want to catch you, they'll just shut down certain roads. Like there's really not that much freedom. You can't really do anything. But like in Houston, man, you can just disappear, and it's pretty much hard. It's there's a lot of, like, I would say someone dies every day or every other day, and there's never any leads. There's never any investigation. Like I don't want to make Houston sound bad, but it's just the nature of a giant city, basically.
Right. And as Sadiq Khan said, it's part and parcel of living in a large city.
Well, that could be turned around, Sadiq. That could be Pakistani rapists that wind up dead in the morning.
Well, then we got to do something about that. Our poor beleaguered Muslim immigrants are being killed in the street. What are we to do? There's no expense to be spared to find the horrible, evil racists that did this. Yeah, so we got like 5 minutes left. We usually try to keep it to about an hour of the show, and of course, since we're talking about migrants committing crime, we'll leave on kind of a high note, of course. So Trump brought up the Haitian refugees eating cats and pets and dogs in Springfield, Ohio. And there's a couple of things that were said about it. Immediately, they fact checked him and be like, "Oh, well, the city manager says that there have been no credible reports of that," which is what you would expect a city manager to say about their town. It's like, no, I am definitely going to put out on a national stage that our city that our city is full of devil worshipping voodoo witchcraft practitioners eating people's pets. It's like, yeah, of course the city manager is going to say that it's not happening there. And then I saw a tweet saying that the left is saying that it's not happening, which means that we're 1 week away from, okay, it's happening, but here's why it's a good thing. And then we're 3 weeks away from refusing to eat people's pets is white supremacy.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
and it's a good thing. Yeah, eating people's pets is a good thing, and you're a racist if you don't.
Right, because feral cats roaming around are like destroying the the delicately balanced ecosystem of the area, or some retarded eco shit that they would come up with. But then, of course, somebody on Twitter took the sound bite and remixed it, thinking that this is going to make Trump look bad. How they thought this was going to be a dub in their column is because it became a viral TikTok trend where they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, eat the cat, eat the cat. And so people, of course, people are going to look into that and see the stories around it, and they're going to be like, oh, holy shit, here's a town with 60,000 people into it, and they dumped 20,000 Haitian migrants in an old Rust Belt town that has no jobs in order to fill vacancies in jobs with cheap labor. That's kind of fucked up. And then, of course, the guy that did the audio remix, when Benny Johnson shared it on his Twitter, he changed his name to Benny Johnson Can Eat Shit, and he was coping and seething in the comments like, no, this is not pro-Trump. I hate Trump. I'm a socialist. I like Hassan Piker. I want to gargle his balls, or, whatever, it's like, so yeah, like another massive L. The left can't meme.
Yeah, let's encourage them to do more of this. That was great.
Well, I like the spin that Vance put on it where, he kind of admitted that, all right, maybe the story's not true, but at least it's getting you pricks to look at the immigrant problem.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Honestly, we should be, as Americans, we really should be ashamed of ourselves, because we really are the clickbait generation, guys. It's ridiculous. Like, a girl gets raped and killed by migrants. Happens all the time. Kids disappear. We'll worry about that later. Cats getting eaten. Oh, that's it. That's it. Close the border. So it is what it is. If that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. But people do need to take it seriously if they care about. I'm glad people care about cats, man. That's a heartwarming sentiment. People care about cats.
Right. They say that God loves 3 things in the world above all, and that's children, drunks in the United States of America, and the internet loves cats more than anything.
That's right, man. Imagine a drunk American child, the luckiest creature to ever live.
I was that child.
The stars smiled on you, man.
Yes, they did. Here I am in my basement doing a podcast on a Sunday night with 7 viewers.
Yeah, with with a future person on a terrorist list now. God forbid, God forbid. But yeah,
We're on list.
I know. But no, it's super nice to hang out with you guys, and we're building. We can ultimately build like a bigger network, a bigger community, and we can get stuff going and like make our own ecosystem. And me and Harrison have all these big plans and dreams we're building towards little by little. So it's really awesome to meet you guys, and I'll definitely keep you all in mind for anything we can do, man. We're always trying to come up with stuff.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you on, and you're welcome back anytime if you have any breaking news. I know that you keep a close eye on the things going on in the Middle East and with everything going on in Israel and Palestine, and it's right next door to Lebanon there. You keep your ear to the ground as far as that goes. If at any point in the future you have any news from that area of the world that you would like to share on our platform, please do not hesitate to drop us a line, and we will fit you in somewhere.
I'd love to, man. I'd love to. Yeah, the latest news is that some general or something in Israel dropped a bunch of leaflets, like little papers, on this place in Lebanon, telling them you guys need to evacuate because we're going to come blow everything up. And then the government in Israel said, "Yo, we never gave you the order to do that. What the hell is going on here?" And so now people have no idea. Like he might have taken it upon himself out of his own humanity to just warn those civilians, like, hey, they're gonna just start blowing all this up like out of nowhere, and you guys should get out of here. But the government of Israel is pissed because he basically warned Lebanon where they're gonna attack. So it's a bit of drama, but there's always silly drama from the Middle East. It's always drama.
It's like 3,000 or 4,000 years of drama. That's
silly drama.
just guys being dudes, you know.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That about covers us for tonight. John, stick around for a couple of minutes after we bring down the broadcast. What do you got?
Where can they find John on Twitter?
Twitter, Lebanon_John. That's it for now. And anybody message me especially if anybody has any questions about the Middle East. I'm happy to talk Middle East history, religion. I mean, anything, just anything. So feel free.
Yep, and you can also catch him on Thursday nights with Harrison Smith on Moonbase Live on Rumble. It's always fun to watch you guys over there, and the chat is always entertaining to watch. Of course, you can follow us at R2L Pod on Twitter, which is our our handle on Twitter. You can go to roads2liberty.com, pick yourself up a t-shirt or a baby onesie or a mug or something like that. Every shekel in the coffers goes a long way to making sure that we can continue to do what we're doing. If you're watching on Rumble, go and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, go subscribe over on Rumble. We are where we can be, and we appreciate you all dropping in for this evening. So, Ben, lead us out, good sir.
Stay hot.